welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily. This is my channel, Books for Life. So for you, it's been a couple days, but for me, it's only been a few minutes. I am back with my part 2 May wrap up. So I'm wearing the same thing because I don't want to change. I just want to kind of like film this. So I am here to talk about all the books that I read during the second part of May. So if you haven't watched part 1, hit pause, go watch that, and then come back for this. During part 1, I talk about The Girl in the Tower by Katherine Arden, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, The Sleeper and the Spindle by Neil Gaiman, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, and Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So for part 2, I have 5 more books to talk about because I did listen to and or read 10 books during the month of May, and I did hit all my goals almost because I did read a classroom library book because that was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I also listened to a book box book, which I'll tell you just in a minute. But the reason why I said kinda is because I did tell you that I was going to read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I am currently reading it. I am on page 310 and I am absolutely loving this world. This is about 650 pages though, so I'm only halfway through. I'm going to continue reading this as I read the books for my Feel Good-a-thon because that started today, because today is Monday, June 1st. So I'm going to continue slowly reading this as I read those 4 books and try to wrap this one up too. But I did want to just let you know that I am working on it and I love this book so far. So during the middle of this month, I picked up Sadie by Courtney Summers, and this was another fantastic audiobook. This was just done really well. This is a podcast style book and you are following this guy, and I can't think of his name, but he is trying to figure out what happened to Sadie. So he is interviewing people and he's going around just like looking into things and trying to figure out what happened to Sadie. Then you actually have Sadie's story and you are following her and you're seeing where she went and what happened. And these stories, he kind of follows her. So like what happens with her, then he kind of talks about, and you see the parallels there. And as he's like kind of like uncovering things, which I just really loved. This had a lot of different narrators throughout and it was done really well. The plot was really interesting. Do I think it was the best thing I ever read? No. But was it an amazing audiobook experience? Yes. So I give this 4 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy it. The ending had me like, but you know, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed it. If you like audiobooks, this is another one I would highly recommend. And then I read Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and this was my book box book, and I got this last July in an Owl Crate box. So I'm so excited to have finally picked it up. I loved this story. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. So you are following Elizabeth, and Elizabeth has grown up in the Great Library her entire life, and throughout her entire life she takes care of the grimoires, and those are books, but these books have demons in them, and so you really have to take care of them and love them because like a piece of the author is in this, and if you don't, they like can turn into like these big scary creatures, and you really have to take care of them. And depending on how powerful the book is, depends on like where in the library it goes, and they can turn into maleficents. And maleficents are those big creatures and they will attack people and kill people. And when Elizabeth is in the library one night, something wakes her up and she goes and she sees that a like level 10, which is like the top of top, book has turned into a maleficent. A grimoire has turned into a maleficent, and she has to save everybody. But then she's convicted of like the crime of turning that book into that monster. So the story goes from there. I really did enjoy it. Well, it wasn't perfect. Like there are definitely some flaws, but I was so immersed in the world that I didn't want to put this book down, and I just thought it was fascinating and I really loved it. So 5 out of 5. So after listening to Sadie, I was kind of in an audiobook slump. I tried like 3 or 4 different like fantasy novels and I just couldn't get into them. So I decided to go to my tried and true method of getting out of an audiobook slump, and that is turning to chick lit. So I ended up picking up I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella. I just love Sophie Kinsella as a chick lit author. She's just like so perfect. She just writes like these really cute, fluffy, like contemporary novels, and I just eat them up. And so I Owe You One was funny as well. So in I Owe You One, you're following this girl named Fixie Farr, and she's helping to run her dad's business. He like has this store and he passed away, and so Fixie and her brother and sister and mom are kind of like running this business. One day Fixie goes to the coffee shop, and as she's standing there, or she's sitting at her table, this guy is like, hey, can you watch my laptop real quick? And she says, okay. And so while he's gone, something happens and she has to save his laptop. I'm not gonna tell you what it was because it was really funny. And he ends up owing her one. So this ends up going back and forth to a bunch of different like IOUs. And it was just a really cute story. I enjoyed it. I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was really cute. So then, because I was still in kind of an audiobook slump, I did pick up 2 more chick lit books. The first one was 9 Women, One Dress by Jane Rosen. This was cute. This is kind of like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, where there's this one little black dress that looks good on everybody. So you follow these 9 different women. Some of them only make like cameo appearances and then they leave, which I didn't even think was necessary. Like, we really only followed 4 or 5 key women. And I think if we had just stuck with those women, this could have been a better story. But because we did have other people coming in and out, it kind of made this more convoluted and just a little bit messier than it needed to be. It was a cute story. There were some character arcs that I really liked, some that I was not invested in at all. And I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It's not going to be a book that sticks with me. Like I said, there were a couple really great and interesting character arcs, but not enough to really redeem this book. But yeah, but overall, just a cute chick lit. And then the last book that I finished during the month of May was Would Like to Meet by Rachel Winters. Now, this was another cute story. And in the story, you were following this girl. She is 29 and her name is Evie Summers, and she works for a movie agency. And in this movie agency, she wants to become an agent, but right now she's just interning. And her assignment is to get this guy to write his next big movie. And she has 3 months to help get that to the producers. And so he is kind of in a little bit of a writing slump, and he's a little bit of an arrogant jerk. And so she ends up making a deal with him that she is going to reenact all of the meet cutes from different movies throughout time. So she like goes to the coffee shop and spills a drink on somebody, and she puts her number in like books and bookstores in hopes that someone's going to call her, all in attempts to prove that the things that happen in romantic comedies can actually happen in real life, and that it's not just like a load of baloney. And this was cute, although at the end of chapter 1, I could tell you all of the plot twists that were going to happen and how the story was going to resolve itself. So there was no element of mystery at all in this book. It did work out exactly how I predicted it would work out, but it was really cute. Some of the meet cutes went terribly wrong, and they were really funny. It had like some Sophie Kinsella vibe. So if you've read Sophie Kinsella, then this was kind of similar to that. I would read other books by this author, but I would not buy a book by this author. So only if it was available through my Libby app would I be willing to pick it up, but this was not worth my money. But it was a good time to read. So these were the 10 books that I read during the month of May. Let me know in the comments down below what you read and if you read any of these same books. If you like my video, please give a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I'll be back with more bookish videos soon. As always, keep reading.